What's happening, guys? I guess I'm back. Hope I'm back for a little bit at least. First and foremost, sorry for the lack of videos and content, but life's been a little funky here. Um, at the old second-gen garage, let's just say. We're having some issues. I got kind of bummed out. It's about titling the car to register. It's not registered. I'm having, like I said, the state of Massachusetts really sticking it to me about this whole thing. I had a title for it, never signed it, bought the car 9 years ago. What had happened was, it was an open title, the date was open. So what I was going to do was, when it was time to register it, say now, I was going to date it, sign it, and go. Well, we had the flood. You guys recall the old flood here, and the titles were in, the title for this car and that car were in one of these drawers, and they got ruined. This one I just get another reissue because it's already been titled in my name, but that one is giving me problems. State's giving me problems. They're making me jump through all kinds of hurdles, and there's a whole bunch of fines that I have to pay because by law, if you buy a vehicle, you're supposed to title it so they can deck you for the sales tax in the state. And since I didn't do that, we have 9 years of accrued penalties and fines. And it's pretty substantial, and I can't afford it right now, so we're working on that, saving money. The job that I had started at the beginning of the winter, that kind of fizzled out, Memorial Day, working down on the Cape, and it's all like summer homes and stuff, and what had happened was the town decided that they didn't want any plumbers going into these people's houses during the summer, during the peak season. It gets really hectic out there in the summer, and they pulled a pin on us. So I had been laid off probably since Memorial Day till about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And then I got a call from my local, and I got contracted out to do small work in another state. And I'm in the process of getting a reciprocating license from Mass to Rhode Island in order to work. So I have to go take a plumbing exam and pass the test, and get that going so I can be licensed in 2 states, and I'll be allowed to work in the state of Rhode Island and continue to work in Massachusetts when it's needed. So like I say, it's the money to register the car, just not to register, but just to get the title in my name is pretty substantial, and I don't have that money just yet, so I have to, save. And but in the meantime, I was doing some odds and ends. And we had a really scary situation here. I had taken the battery out of the cables that went through the back of the trunk. I just had the cables going through, and I was, in all intentions, I was gonna put these grommets in. So I took it all apart, backed everything off, put the grommets in, ran the feeds back in. Then I hooked up the battery. And I was just being curious, so I walked over here and I pulled the headlight switch, see if everything was working. Headlights came on, and for reasons being, I don't know, I took the dimmer switch and I dimmed it, and when I did that, the headlights started pulsating and flashing and stuff. So I was like, oh, so I kind of went back to the normal position off the dim, and I happened to look back like this, and it was a plume of smoke coming up like this. And then I looked into the car, and the whole car was all smoke. And it was coming from here, I thought, because when I looked back, it was like the plume was coming up through here. So I ripped this side panel off. And I ripped the back seat off, because the wires that run along the channel here, they go all around the back and over the wheelhouse into the trunk. And I ran back, and I popped the leads off of the battery, and I ripped this out. And nothing was burned, so I was like at wit's end, didn't know what was going on. I looked in, it was still smoking, but it wasn't as bad. So whatever I did there, when I pulled that off, it must have stopped it. And so I thought it was the actual printed circuit here delammed, and it grounded itself off on the cluster, the plate, the grounding plate. And I thought that was the problem, so I took it all apart, and it did delam, but nothing was burned in the cluster, nothing was burned on the printed circuit. So I started chasing everything back to the fuse panel, and all the wiring here seems fine. And then I chased that back to where the gauges are, the aftermarket gauges, and I think that's where the problem was, because between the dash and the metal bracing that goes across, show you, two things actually happened. One, completely melted. It melted right back. The ground actually, there's nothing left of the ground. That's what was left, was that. And on the switch here, on the dimmer switch, see if I can zoom in, because this phone has been funky. I don't know if you can see it where it's picking up with the resistor spring. Would that help? See the space missing there? So we did have something ground out really bad, and this was essentially worked as a, this worked as a fusible link, and it melted itself before it can melt any of the wiring. I'm surprised the fuse didn't pop on it. All the fuses seem to be intact. Essentially this acted as a fuse. It's a thinner gauge wire, and that's what melted. And I'm tracing back the easy wire, and everything seems to be good on the aftermarket wiring harness. There's nothing melted at all. All the damage happened right here. So I burned the switch out, and I burned this out. But I stuck around pretty much all day, just kept babysitting the car, hoping that nothing would ignite, and it didn't. But it was that in a nutshell. So the whole thing with the titling, I'll go into more detail of the hoops and the obstacles that the state's throwing at me. I mean, it's disheartening. I got really depressed about the whole situation. I really wanted to drive the car this year, and as the powers that be, it didn't happen. So but maybe that happened for a reason, you know. I would hate to have that car ignite on me while I'm driving down the road with it, you know. It's always safer to have it, you know, here and try to figure out what the hell's going on instead of catching on fire while I'm driving down the road. So I think the car's cursed, to tell you the truth, or maybe it's a blessing in disguise. So yeah, I'm somewhat back. Like I say, the new job that I'm working at, it's in another state, and it's not like it's far away, but it's there's a lot of work coming up, and I really have to study for plumbing exam, and I don't really have time to be noodling with the cars and the car after work. So I've been watching some videos sporadically, haven't been really commenting on much, and I apologize for that. I do have a mail call. His sticker's upstairs. Chaos Garage, he sent me a sticker, and go check him out. I'll get the sticker out and put it on the cabinet here, or on the door. I'll get him back up on the door. These are all kind of temporarily placed. Happy birthday, Stan. And I'm gonna, with time, you know, who knows, but I'm gonna sand the door down and I don't know, maybe do like a race checkerboard pattern on it or something, and then I'll reattach all the stickers to it. And so that's it for this. It's a little update. Sorry, like I say, sorry once again for not participating, but life sometimes goes bang right in the chin, and some people get knocked out, some people just get knocked back, and I'm gonna keep my head down and keep swinging. So still here, channel's still active, and thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, and this is Mark from the second gen, the cursed car. Be well, be safe, and see you on the next one. Peace.